Second. Yep. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who has opened my eyes which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance with a torch of knowledge. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktit Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today, in the second canto, we are in the chapter 6. This chapter is named as Purusha Sukta Confirmed. It's not that Purusha Sukta is there a part of this chapter, but the elements of Purusha Sukta are there in this chapter. Probably that's the reason why Purusha Sukta confirmed is the title that's given. In this chapter, primarily Lord Brahma, the first ever created being, right? That's how we know. First created being and the secondary creator of this universe. So universe has got primary creation and the secondary creation are Sarga, Visarga. So Lord Brahma is known to be the secondary creator of the universe or the creator of this material world, speaks about the glories of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, yeah, through whom he has come. So he describes how the Lord is the original source of everything and how the cosmic manifestation is a display of his energies. So he's reiterating to Narada in this conversation of these slokas that he is not the supreme, even though some people may think that Brahma is the creator. He's only the secondary creator. The primary creator, the source of the creation is God. And he's also explaining everything about how the cosmic manifestation is displaying its energies. So that's the reason why this chapter has a link with the Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta, Purusha means person, Purushottama. The Lord is also addressed as Parama Purusha or Purushottama. Purusha Sukta is a Vedic hymn that basically describes the cosmic form and the supreme power of the Purushottama, that is Krishna or God, as the universal being, and who is also the source of all incarnation, all creation, all incarnations, and everything that emanates from there. And it highlights the creation of the universe and the various elements within it from the body of the Purusha. So basically, Purusha Sukta confirms and reaffirms and explains to us that whatever we see in this whole cosmic manifestation, cosmic universe, is nothing but the elements that come from the body of the Purusha. So this hymn is, so that's the reason why the explanation that we get to see in this in the set of shlokas today, and also overall in this chapter, are oriented towards the cosmic reality, cosmic manifestation. So, so that's why Purusha Sukta is confirmed, is here confirmed. And just like the way it's been told, the creation of the universe and the various elements within it from the body of Purusha. That's how the Purusha Sukta goes. And this hymn, originally it is said that it is compiled in the Rig Veda, after the four Vedas, but it also, Acharyas to tell that it is also found in Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, and traces of it in Bhagavata Purana. So we normally hear in this in temples or in major programs, in Abhishek programs, Abhishekam is done. The chanting of Purushottam is done by the priests. So wherein the Lord is described of having unlimited hands, unlimited eyes, unlimited heads, unlimited feet, and he's omnipresent everywhere as a universal being. And not only that, he envelops whole cosmic creation and also pervades entire in the creation in entirety, and extends himself in 10 directions, represented by the 10 fingers. So basically, Purushottam gives a very descriptive form of the Lord and the creation that is connected with it. So the creation is linked to the Lord's form through Purusha Sukta. Sahasra Shirisha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. That means 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet. Sa bhumim vishato vrutva atyat dishta dashangulam. So it basically is enveloping world in 10, from the 10 direction. So that's the context here. Brahma explaining to Narada that cosmic reality of the Lord Sri Krishna, and also affirming him that he is not the original creator, he is the secondary creator, and also he's explaining to us what is the connection between the secondary creation and the primary creation. So that's all the shlokas go. So today what we'll do, we have 6 shlokas to cover. So what I thought was that for few shlokas, we will read the shloka, we'll also read the purport, and then we'll get the summary. And for the last shlokas, when we run out of time, we only go with the summary of the purport. So I've read the summary and tried to prepare, I've read the purports and I've tried to prepare a summary to the best extent, best possible manner with my limited understanding. Swadishnam, Swadishnyam Pratapan Prano Bahishcha Pratapyate Asu Evam Virajam Pratapam Tapki Antar Bahir Puman. So here it starts with a kind of an example to describe the Lord's expansions. Swadishnyam Pratapan. So Pratapa, the word Pratapa is normally known to us as valor or strength, right? Pratapa Rudra, and all those great kings are there. Pratapa means valor. Swadishnyam Pratapan Prano Bahishcha Pratapyati Asu Asau Evam Virajam Pratapams Tapya Antar Bahir Puma. So can someone read the translation here?
Yes, Prabhu. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. The universal form of the Lord, or the impersonal feature of the Lord known as Brahmajyoti, is clearly explained here and compared to the radiation of the sun. The sunshine may expand all over the universe, but the source of the sunshine, namely the sun planet or the deity known as Surya Narayan, is the basis of such radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of the Lord Krishna is the basis of impersonal Brahmajyoti radiation or the impersonal feature of the Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14.27. So the universal form of the Lord is the secondary imagination of the impersonal form of the Lord. But the primary form of the Lord is Shyam Sundar with 2 hands playing on his eternal flute. 75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested by in the spiritual sky, Tripad Vibhuti. and 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of the material universes. This is also explained and stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called his internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion of is called external energy of the Lord. The living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as material expansions are his material energy, Tathastha Shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, in external or internal. Those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of the external expansion are called the conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of residents of the internal expansions in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned souls. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So here you see there is a discussion of universal form. So when we talk about universal form, we should know that there is also some other original form. There's an original form and then the universal form, right? So here Brahma is explaining to Narada that how Lord expands his universal form and to maintain everything in creation, both internally and externally. So the purport actually starts with a comparison with the sun. Just as sunlight spreads everywhere, but comes from sun. The same way, the impersonal light, the Brahma Jyoti, which is the effulgence of the Lord's original form, comes from Krishna. So Krishna is there. He has got the effulgence, and from the effulgence, the light comes, and that's the light is what is perceived. So the example of the sun and sunlight keeps coming quite a lot in when trying to explain the hierarchy of the creation. The original source, a source has got a form, and form has got an effulgence, and effulgence has got a light, and light that spreads everywhere. And some people only see the light and think that is the original form, and they want to merge into that. And but some people contemplate to see what is the source of that light, and they go. So here, just like the sun spreads everywhere, sunlight spreads everywhere, but it comes from sun. Same way, the impersonal light, that is what is known as the effulgence of the Lord of Brahmajyoti, comes from Lord Krishna. This is the first thing that he makes it a point. And then Srila Prabhupada is telling that universal form of the Lord is like a secondary imagination. This word imagination is very interesting, how Prabhupada has used. Primarily, I think his message is that the universal form of the Lord is secondary in nature. But the main form of Krishna is the two-handed form of Krishna with flute, which devotees like to meditate and worship on. And then he gives an idea about the division of energy. Because when we talk about light, when we talk about heat, any of those things, normally they are associated with energy. So how does that energy come? Where is that energy? And then he gives some statistics. 75% of the Lord's energy is in the spiritual world, and only 25% is there in the material world. So, and also, he also gives a good graphic description that in the spiritual world, there are more liberated souls compared to the material world. Material world has got lesser people, and people who are in the spiritual realm or spiritual world are called liberated people, liberated souls, and the souls that are there in the material world are called conditioned souls. The both are souls, but their situation is different. In spiritual world, they are liberated, and in the material world, they are conditioned. And then very important lesson kind of a thing for us is a living entity. The soul can live in either spiritual or material world. Those in spiritual world are free, and those in the material world are bound or conditioned. But the important thing is that it also ends with a very interesting lesson or instruction that souls have freedom to reside in either realm. So for us, we have the freedom to choose where we want to live, either in the material world or in the spiritual world. There is nobody willfully forcing us to stay here only, and nobody is willfully forcing us to stay in the spiritual world. That freedom to stay, a freedom to aspire, freedom to work for, to stay where is determined by us. Of course, we have to acquire some quality and qualifications to go to the spiritual world. That's a different thing. But nobody is stopping us from aspiring and preparing ourselves to go and stay wherever we want. Yeah, so that's an important thing. So that the little bit of freedom Krishna has given us to decide where do we want to go. And currently, of course, we are all very much entangled and bound as conditioned souls in this material world. But these teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam is telling that we have freedom to reside anywhere. So that's a very, very important thing that we need to understand, that it's not anybody's decision. It's not even God is forcing us to stay only here. It is only our situation that we are creating ourselves so that we are born here. But if we have an aspiration to get out of from here, we should be assured, it's been confirmed here, that we have the freedom to reside in the spiritual world, where there are many more people and many more facilities to do devotional service. So when we talk about Vishwarupa, now, anytime when we talk about universal form or the effulgence of the Lord, uh, automatically, by default, we tend to remember Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, right? Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 is primarily dedicated to universal form. After listening to some of the infinite opulences of Lord Sri Krishna in the 10th chapter, Arjuna basically expressed a desire and says that if Krishna feels that he is a deserving candidate, he wants us to see his form, that form of Krishna where he can, in one shot, can see all the opulences, the grandeur and splendorous form of Krishna. For Krishna. So Krishna basically is kind enough to accept the request of Arjuna, and then he grants him a divine vision, because a normal vision, this form is not visible, and then he displays the universal form. And that's how the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is all about, right? And then Arjuna sees the unimaginable splendor. He's completely overwhelmed, and he sees all beings are entering into Krishna's mouth, and symbolizing the inevitable destruction. And Krishna also reveals Arjuna that he is the time, Kala, is a destroyer, and all the warriors in the Kurukshetra are already been gone, regardless of Arjuna's action. And after showing this, thus Krishna again encourages Arjuna to fight, ensuring victory and glory to him. So in every time when Krishna gives a very significant message, he concludes to Arjuna saying that you fight. In the beginning of second chapter, when he gives Jnana Yoga, body, soul, after giving that, he says, you fight. Then Karma Kanda, he says, after doing that, he says, you fight. Nishkama Karma Yoga, he says, fight. Buddhi Yoga, he gives a lot of important shlokas on Buddhi Yoga and says, you fight. So while giving Buddhi Yoga, he says, just at least fight for fighting sake. Forget about everything. I'm telling this, you fight for fighting sake. Same in 8th chapter, while telling Bhakti Yoga, Tasma Sarveshu Kaleshu Maman Smaridhacha, Mayarpita Manobuddhir, Mame Vaishas Asamshaya. So there also it says fight. And 11th chapter also it says, even after showing the 11th original form, or original universal form or universal form, so that Arjuna is fearful and awestruck. And then he pleads forgiveness for his past disrespect to Krishna. And he then requests Arjuna, Krishna to come back to his original form of 200 form. Then Krishna shows him the 400 form and then comes back to the 200 form. So in there, basically, Arjuna gets to see that great universal form of Krishna. But after seeing that, Arjuna doesn't get attracted to that, but he knows, then he realizes the importance of seeing Krishna in his original form. So, this is a very, very famous, and there are a lot of pictures and paintings also of this, right? That Krishna showing the original form. But similar, not it may not be similar, but Krishna has shown similar, not the same, but similar kind of splendorous forms in elsewhere also in some places. Particularly, we must remember the thing when Krishna goes as a peace ambassador, peace emissary to the Kauravas camp to plead and request them to not to go for war. So he wanted to do peace negotiations. At that time, Duryodhana makes an attempt to arrest Krishna, and Krishna then shows the universal form and his divine power to warn Kauravas against their unjust actions. So that's where the Duryodhana could see it, and then of course he's completely bewildered and he falls unconscious, right? So by doing so, Krishna in 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks, Krishna shows the universal form to bring Arjuna to a bhakti platform, bring Arjuna to a platform where he can understand and listen to do what he's supposed to do. And in when he shows the universal form to Duryodhana, he tells the opposite. He's telling that what you are doing is wrong, and it's like a warning to Duryodhana. Whereas for Arjuna, it is to provide an inspiration for him to understand who is he. And we also know that though not the complete universal form, since we are talking about cosmic manifestation, cosmic creation today, Krishna also showed a similar the reality of that cosmic things to Yashoda Maya twice. Once Krishna was sleeping with his open mouth when Yashoda Mata comes there and she sees in his mouth the cosmic manifestation and she's completely stunned. And then of course as part of the Leela she forgets that. But and then later Krishna also shows her the similar cosmic manifestation in his mouth and during the eating the mud pastime. So now and then Krishna in his Leela, in the material world, did did show his splendorous forms like this. Primarily, the reason that when his pastimes gets recorded, people would know and remember those, and the connection to that cosmic creation, connection to the universal form, to his original form. And again, also after the Kurukshetra war is over, when Krishna finishes his duty in Hastinapura, and then he's going back to Dwaraka, he meets one of his old acquaintance. His name is Uttanka Rishi. Uttanka Rishi is not so very famous, but less commonly narrated personality in Mahabharata, and there are some small episodes regarding him, but he's known to Krishna. So on his way back, they meet, and of course, after they discuss few things, Krishna sees that Uttanka is not very happy in meeting him. And then he inquires with him, what's the reason why you're unhappy? The Uttanka says that I'm unhappy because a lot of people have been killed in Kurukshetra war unnecessarily. And it is so unfortunate that you are part of it. You are a cause of it. So that's why I'm very troubled by that happening. Then Krishna explains to him that inevitability of the war. He says whether I'm there or not, war would have anyway happened. And there's a role of divine in the maintenance of dharma. Dharma has to be maintained, and for that must be a divine intervention. In this case, super divine intervention has to be happen because the scale of the problem was too much. And then he assures Uttanaka that everything happened was according to a plan, a cosmic plan of his to establish a righteousness. But still, somehow Uttanaka is not very kind of happy that what is the Krishna is talking about is divine plan, cosmic plan to establish righteousness. So he's a good person, but somehow his unhappiness about so many people getting killed it was overwhelming him. So to alleviate his doubts and his concerns and his anguish, Krishna displays his divine nature and also divine form of this kind of a universal form of Vishwarupa to that rishi. And then he's pleased, and then he understands who is Krishna. So to Uttaraka, Krishna displayed universal form to assure him who is he and to pacify him. To Arjuna, he displayed him to motivate him. To Duryodhana, he displayed to warn him. To Yashoda, he displayed him as his feet pastime. So same Lord, similar forms, but different, situations and different things. So primarily, when we talk about this universal form and cosmic manifestation, the idea why acharyas are explaining this in so much detail, because it makes us feel, people like us, the conditioned soul, very easily understand the omnipresence of Krishna and his ultimate role in controlling this cosmos. That's all. If we have to remember Vishwarupa, it should quickly remind to us that Lord is omnipresent, so He's universal. His form is spread throughout the universe. His energy is spread throughout this creation. So when we see any element of creation, we should know that it is just but the expansion coming from Krishna. If we know that, and then I think the idea of uh, universal form is understood a bit. And so there are some other places also Krishna showed the form, though not the universal form, but another very graphic forms that Krishna showed. One very big instance of that is Uttara. When Ashwathama released Brahmastra and Parikshit had to be saved, Krishna went there inside the womb of Uttara and gave a darshan to Parikshit and he protected. And that's how Parikshit got a very interesting darshan of Lord Sri Krishna in a very splendorous form, even though minute in size. And then Krishna also showed some kind of a splendorous form to his mother Devaki and Vasudev in the prison, uh, because he wanted to make them remind them that even though he just came as a boy, he's not just the boy, but something else. However, the most important thing when we read this Vishwarupa and the and cosmic manifestation is what we need to remember is that Vishwarupa does not Vishwarupa actually comes from Krishna, not the other way around. Krishna does not come from Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa comes from Krishna. Vishwarupa is within Krishna. And whenever Krishna want to manifest, he manifests. Why this is very important is before getting in touch with Bhagavad Gita or before we get in touch with Bhagavatam, in general, there are, I can't say many people, that there are some people at least who think that Krishna came from Vishwarupa. That's why in some houses also we see paintings in the same manner depicting that Vishwarupa is the main thing and Krishna is a product of Vishwarupa. So that understanding is completely wrong. So that's why Srila Prabhupada in the purport is also saying that it's a secondary imagination. It's a secondary, it's an important thing, but it's not the primary thing. So Vishwarupa comes from Krishna. Vishwarupa is within Krishna. It manifests when Krishna wants to manifest and the way it has to manifest. And Krishna does not come from Vishwarupa. If we remember this, it's very important. And that's why when we see the nature, when we talk about this Vishwarupa, when we want to remember Vishwarupa, when we want to meditate on Vishwarupa as a means that it will help us to bring to that realization that God is omnipresent and omnipotent and all powerful, then that is good. We can meditate on Vishwarupa as long as we know that, right? And that's why great devotees also, when they see the creation, they remember this sometimes. So I have a very I heard one very good pastime of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj in one of his Vyasa Puja ceremonies. We used to go to Canada for several years, almost regularly, when my daughter used to live there. And in September, so we used to go in end of summer. So in September, after Janmashtami, after Srila Prabhupada Vyasa Puja, after few days, Vyasa Puja of Gopal Krishna Maharaj happens. So in Toronto Temple, where we used to go, were quite a few members of the Toronto Temple community those days were Gopal Krishna Maharaj disciples. So we used to have that good opportunity to attend his Vyasa Puja and hear so many pastimes about Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So one devotee once he told this. So whenever I remember about Vishwarupa, I remembered about that very interesting episode of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So there is a place in central Canada called Saskatchewan. It's very difficult to pronounce. Saskatchewan. So it's in central northern part of the Central America, and it's a very cold place. Sometimes the winter goes from minus 40 degrees to minus 40 degrees it goes. Imagine minus 40. And summer, of course, it goes up to mid 30s. So very wide range. So naturally, in such a cold place, so snowstorms are all there. But at some part of the year, in summer particularly, the weather is quite bearable in their context. So those are the times when the devotees used to have programs and things like that. So, and of course, in those countries, the weather warning systems are also very solid. So once the devotees found that the weather is going to be good for a certain period of time, and they thought that they should invite Gopal Krishna Maharaj for programs, and they arranged a lot of programs, considering taking the weather into consideration, that if everything is suitable and we should have big programs for Maharaj, and they made a lot of arrangements. But what happened was contradictory to the weather predictions and their expectations. Just before Maharaj was supposed to arrive, the whole weather predictions changed, and what weather predictions gave an indication that there's going to be a huge storm and everything will be disrupted, kind of a thing. And devotees got into a predicament on what to do to stop Maharaj or to. Anyway, they have to cancel the programs. Programs will not happen. But anyway, they got the Maharaj, and they were and as Maharaj landed and they were taking him to the car, the storm has already started. Imagine when the storm comes, the temperature outside goes minus 40, and so it's very, very difficult to even think about anything, right? So devotees were, what to do. We told Maharaj there are so many programs are there, and everything is cancelled. What are we going to do with Maharaj? What is Maharaj going to feel about what happened? But as the car is getting driven, Maharaj is getting driven. They slowly, one by one, very calmly, telling that Maharaj, we planned everything, but suddenly the storm came. We are likely to cancel, or we are canceling. So they were expecting Maharaj to say, immediately react, saying that, why you didn't tell me, or why you did that. This more and more they were telling us to defend themselves, to give a reason, to find an escape route. Maharaj was still very silent. He's just seeing through the window here and there, left and right. So more and more Maharaj was silent, and more their anxiety became a bit too much. Because when you're telling something to defend yourself as an excuse and the other person is not responding, means you get very tense, right? So after some time, Maharaj has observed their anxiety, and then he didn't talk anything about the program. Then he said, devotees, are you not seeing the Vishwarupa in this inclement weather? That's all Maharaj said. It was a very beautiful statement, right? So when these people are telling the reasons why program got cancelled and that, this and all, Maharaj was not even bothered. Maharaj has seen that how the weather has changed, how that Ugra Rupa of the Lord, how the Vishwarupa of the Lord has manifested in front of his eyes. to cancel all his programs. So he was happy to visualize that form of Krishna, which can be very ferocious, very unfavorable in this material world, to completely topsy-turvy all of our plans. And Maharaj, by seeing that, he was enjoying that blissful moment of Krishna's presence in that inclement weather. So that shook the devotees around Maharaj. So they didn't even look at that aspect of it. They were only looking at their program and what happens to Maharaj. So whenever I see an inclement weather, whenever I see I get stuck in big rain or something like that, I remember this pastime of Maharaj. So that it's for me, it's a very powerful realization that somebody at that situation, in the midst of a storm driving, but he could see the form of the Lord in that way. So since Vishwarupa is there, I also request all devotees to remember Vishwarupa in that manner, which basically constantly reminds us through this creation the omnipresence and omnipotency of the Lord. Whether it's sunshine, moonshine, a tree, a river, or anything, it is just nothing but a form of the Lord, an expansion of the Lord that Lord is able to show us in this creation. So if we do that, then we can always be with the Lord. And then, of course, when we talk about Vishwarupa, there are always two words that come into picture: Virata Rupa and Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa is what we talked about. So there is, even though these two words are used interchangeably, they also are used in the purports also sometimes interchangeably. But there's one small difference. Virat Rupa commonly has discussions around material universe and Lord's manifestation within it. So the material world with so many galaxies and so many planets and stars and those things, that is Virat Rupa. This is the material universe content thing. Whereas the Vishwarupa that we are talking about is a superset of that. It is basically highlighting the infinite and eternal aspects of the Lord that transcend both material and spiritual dimensions. So Vishwarupa is all-encompassing form of the Lord, which has got both material and spiritual and transcendent through that. So in that way, Vishwarupa is an all-encompassing form of the Lord, and that's what Arjuna has seen in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Whereas the Virat Rupa, the description that come in Bhagavatam in certain cantos are predominantly discussing about the material universe and its structure and its creation and things like that. So this one important point to be understood. So with this understanding of Vishwarupa, with this understanding of Lord's expansion, so we'll go to next shloka. Sa amrutasya abhyasya isho Matyam annam yat atyagat mahimaisa tato brahman purushasya duratyaya. So again, now the Supreme Personality of the God, who is present in the creation as the universal form, as a representation of the universal form, uh, how how is he telling us the characteristics of the spiritual and material worlds? Can someone read the translation?
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and is transcendental to death and the fruitive actions of the material world. O Narada, O Brahmana, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person.
Yeah.
Purport.
So, purport, we don't read it, Prabhu. We'll go the big purport. I'll just give the summary. So here, basically, again, Narada is telling the greatness of the Lord, and it is also telling that it's difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. So we here in the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he makes a very clear definition of the spiritual and material world. Spiritual world makes up 75% of Lord's internal energy, and it is far greater than material world, which is only 25% of the external energy. This is a repeat of the previous point. And material world is compared to a bucket of mustard seeds, with each seed representing a universe. So the spiritual world is a bucket It's full of mustard seeds. The great big material world that we think is each is one mustard that is representing one universe. So this understanding should tell us it will humble us to know the greatness of glories, and that's why we should know that it is difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. And then he gives the nature of spiritual planets. Spiritual planets are, as we all know, they're eternal, indestructible, and it's full of goodness and bliss. And they're self-illuminating, and they're more dazzling. And this description also comes in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Natat Bhashyate Surya. And there in the spiritual planets, the people are free from birth and death. Old age, disease do not come, and they have full knowledge, and they have no material desires. And so the spiritual world looks like it's completely opposite uh, of the material world. So here we are getting a glimpse of the Lord whose glories cannot be measured and who lives in the spiritual world, and along with so many other living entities who are liberated souls. So by getting this information about the spiritual planet and spiritual world can provide us an impetus and inspiration to at least go once and try how is that. And then once we get that idea, then we start thinking about how to get there, right? So life in spiritual world, they basically serve the Lord there with love and devotion. They constantly singing Vedic hymns. They enjoy unending, unchanging bliss, unlike in material world. And when we compare that kind of a world, the spiritual world, where graphic description is given in this purport, material world on the other side is temporary. We all know fear, full of fear due to the effects of time and change, and we practically see it every day, right? And in material world, happiness depends on one's efforts, is always uncertain. Sometimes we may get happiness because of our efforts, but sometimes we may not get at all. It's completely uncertain and unpredictable. And whereas there is a promise of immortality in the spiritual world, there in the Supreme Lord can grant immortality and eternal bliss to devotees, and those who reach his abode, there is no need for them to return. So sometimes people ask if we will never return, why would we return at all? So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said somehow or other. It is not absolute blanket guarantee that people who go to spiritual world will never return. Yeah, there also we need to follow certain things and to be in the way we should. Otherwise, there's again Lord gives us the freedom to come back to the material world. It is not Lord's intention to send us to material world, but we make ourselves qualifiable enough to go to the material world. Yeah. So we'll go to a world where there is everything, immortality is not guaranteed. And unique qualities of the spiritual world are unlike the material world. Spiritual world is free of anxiety, Vaikunta, that's why it's called. And there's no influence of time there. Happiness in the spiritual world is always ever increasing, it doesn't decrease. So basically, the purport of Srila Prabhupada in this, taking the cue, stating that no, Lord's glories cannot be described in full, and the nature of the spiritual world is so great that also is indescribable in many things. So the purport of Srila Prabhupada emphasizes the greatness of the spiritual world and Lord's ability to bestow real happiness and fearlessness to his devotees who want to go to spiritual world, but who do not want to go to spiritual world, they want to remain here. For them also certain facilities there. But what is the takeaway for us? To know something is great in the spiritual world and something is not so great in material world. To know the characteristics of the spiritual world and this. One important thing is, first thing is, it will make us humble to know the greatness of the Lord who creates both this, who has created this both spiritual and material worlds with such a distinct parameters and distinct natures. And also it helps us to absorb in those thoughts to at least look to go back to that spiritual world and to enjoy what would be the realm of life in that environment. The very thought of this, that very thought of this is a very beginning step of our devotion. The fact that we believe that there is spiritual world, the fact that we believe in the nature and description of the spiritual world should, in all probabilities, give us an inspiration to know what should we do and prepare ourselves in this lifetime or in future lifetimes to at least target to reach that great place. And that is the beginning. So that's very important, right? To have a goal and aim in life is very important. So the scriptures, many scriptures also tell that one of our primary goal of life should be to know how to get back to Godhead. So the acharyas, particularly who studied Chaitanya Charitamrita, have told us that when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, when you understand, three things will come very dominantly to us. That we will come to know that God should be a central point of our life, Kendra Bindu, they call it, right? Center of gravity of our life. And devotional service, it should be our prime occupation duty. Even though we are doing so many occupation duties, but among them, devotional service should become prime. And our main aim for life should be oriented to go back to Godhead. So in that process, understanding the universal form, understanding the omnipresence and omnipotency of the Lord, and understanding the reach of the Lord through the creation of his universal form helps us to get that inspiration. This is not the only source, but this can be one of the primary sources, because we may not see the God per se, but we can always see his creation, right? That facility at least God has given. That creation, which is nothing but form of the Lord, which is expanded, right? And in the previous chapters before this also, that aspect is very vividly described, right? Water trees, water rivers, and those kind of things. So by seeing the creation, by seeing the very nature around us, we should be able to feel the omnipresence of the Lord. And that helps us to bring Lord into the center of our life. This is one of the main aims of this graphic descriptions about the spiritual world and the material world. Unless someone tells us this, we will not do. But why it's very important for us to know as the students of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is that somehow or other, I don't know, at least in my case, it happens in when I was young. Even though I was brought up in okay type of a orthodox family, but still the concept of spiritual world, somehow they talk about Swargaloka. Actually, which is Swargaloka is also part of the material creation. And they say that you do good things, you get a lot of pious credits, and then you go to Swargaloka, and that's all it is. You enjoy there. But if you look at it, it is correct, but it is incomplete, and it's also incorrect, and it's misleading also. So Swargaloka is just it's another. It's like you have India, you have Dubai, you have America, you have something else, right? Something like that only, and nothing in terms of concept and nothing more than that. But there are more facilities, more opulence, more richness, and Amrita also that we talk about. It's not that it completely makes it deathless. It is that it makes our life too long. Actual Amrita that we are talking about, that is only available in spiritual world, where that's the only place where there is no death. So sometimes we are misled by the stories, and sometimes even elders tell these things. Sometimes we would have seen that in the TV stories. So spiritual world is very surprisingly is taken as Swargaloka. No, it is not. So only when we get in touch with the teachings like this, we come to know what is spiritual life. Yeah, so that is the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam and the purports of Srila Prabhupada, and particularly the first and second cantos are considered as the lotus feet of Lord. So once we get shelter unto the lotus feet, then slowly we can understand the whole picture of the Lord, right? So in that way, it's very, very important to do this. So next shloka is 19th shloka. Padeshu sarva bhutani pumshaha sthitipado viduhu amrutam. The word amrita comes here. Kshemam abhem trimurno adhyai murtashu. So can someone read the text?
Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be known as the supreme reservoir of all material opulences by the 1/4 of his energy in which all the living entities exist. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from the anxieties of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the 3 higher planetary systems and beyond the material coverings. Purport.
No, don't
Purport
read.
by
We'll go to
okay.
the. So here, deathlessness and fearlessness exist. So that means there is no death, there is no fear. So deathlessness is a very interesting word that Srila Prabhupada has coined. Srila Prabhupada has coined some very interesting words. Devotion means devotional service. Deathlessness is one such word. Normally, we don't see in the dictionary. Immortality, we see no death, we see, but deathlessness. Is that means there is no death. Fearlessness, that means there is no fear. And freedom from anxiety, the anxiety-less thing. So no anxiety, no fear, no death is where that in the kingdom of God exists. So here, in this, again, here is giving same thing. The previous sloka is repeating here. So law here, the energy distribution part is covered. So Lord's energy is divided into 3 parts. This is the purport. Srila Prabhupada expands the Lord energy distribution. So Lord's energy is there, which is distributed throughout, has got 3 things. One is the existence energy, one is a knowledge energy, and one is a bliss energy. Existence, knowledge, and bliss. Existence is known as Sandhini energy, and knowledge is Samvit energy. Hladini is the blissful energy. Hladini is blissful, Samvit knowledge. Sandhini is existence. We see some of the names also, some people name as Samvit, their sons Samvit. Sandhini is a female name, existence, Sandhini. And we also have in our congregation Sandhini Mataji. Yeah, that means existence. So Srila Prabhupada starts with this because here because he's here in the shloka, it said 1/4 of his energy in which all living entities exist. So in that 1/4, the category is 3, and 1/4 of energy is in the material world. And experience in material and spiritual worlds is described. In the material world, existence, knowledge, and pleasure are limited. And in spiritual world, they're high. And also in the material world, liberated sources, many of them are there, and they experience deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxiety. So in the material world, there are 3 types of planetary systems: Swarga, Matsya, Patala. So that's what I told. Swarga is also part of the material creation. It is not beyond material creation. Swargaloka, Matyaloka, that's earthly planets, and Pataloka. So these are the 3 main things, and these are again subdivided. So this make up 1/4 of the Sandhini energy. That existence energy that we are talking about, Sandhini energy, is what this Swargaloka, Matyaloka, Pataloka. And somewhere, then we need to see where is that Samvit energy and Hadini energy. Where can we get a glimpse of that? And that's a very interesting thing that we need to know. So this is very, you may already know it. If you know it, what I'm saying, kindly consider it as a revision. But it's also a good point to remember and meditate, because Srila Prabhupada is giving this aspect of when it comes to energy of the material world. Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about Hladini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, Sandhini Shakti, and he says material world has got major 3 parts: Swarga, Matsya, that is Bhuloka kind of a thing, and then Patala Loka, right? And this energy is controlled by Sandhini Shakti, that's existence or existential potency. So these 3 Shaktis, actually, how do we get the taste of the second 2? Samvit Shakti and Sandhini Shakti. There are many ways. People who are in deep devotion can probably get a glimpse of those. Sandhini Shakti is anyway there. What about Samvit Shakti? Power to know. Samvit Shakti is power to know. How do we get power to know the reality? Power to know the material things we get when we go to schools, when we read books, when we talk to friends, that is there. But how do we get the power to know the spiritual reality? Like we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam through Srila Prabhupada's purports, we are getting the power to know, right? Somebody is opening up those power to know, to tell the distinction between what is spiritual world, what is material world, and what is that pleasure that one can realize when he knows what he's supposed to know. Hladini Shakti. How do we get the test? So Srila Prabhupada in one of his conversations mentioned that is also available to us actually, thanks to one thing, thanks to Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If you see Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra has also got 3 unique words. Hare, Krishna, Rama. Right? Hare, which is the energy, vocative form of energy is Radha. And Radha presides over Hladini Shakti, pleasure potency. Krishna is the second unique name, that is Sambit Shakti, the power to know. And Balarama presides over Sandhini Shakti, that is existential potency. So existence, power to know, and pleasure, all 3 energies, the wholesome energy package of the Lord, which may not clearly manifest in this material world, because material world predominantly has the existential potency that is displayed, is embedded, encapsulated in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said, Hare Krishna Rama. This is Vrindavan. These 3 make up Vrindavan. Wherever there are Radha and Krishna and Balram, wherever Hare Krishna Mahamantra is there, Radha, Krishna, and Balram are also there in the background. And wherever that they are in the background, these 3 energy potencies of the Lord also are there, embedded, and they're carried along with that. So we should be very fortunate when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because it has the potency of all the 3 energies. Hladini Shakti, presided by Radharani, Samvit Shakti, the power to know, presided by Krishna, and Sandhini Shakti, the existential potency which is there anyway, it is seen by us in the nature, in the material world, is presided by Balarama. So that's why Balarama becomes our primary guru. Because from this existential potency only we can go to know, we will get power to know Krishna, Samvit Shakti, and only by knowing the power of Krishna, we can get the chance to enjoy that pleasure that is presided by Radharani. So this is the connection when Prabhupada has given in very beginning line of the purport. Srila Prabhupada starts, Lord's energy is divided into 3 parts: Sandhini, Sambit, Hladini, existence, knowledge, and bliss. So that is actually all these 3 are embedded as part of Hare Krishna mantra. So the important is that when we come to know these things, right, sometimes it hits us that, oh my God, I'm chanting Hare Krishna and this has got this much thing, which is not normally available in other chants, that all these things are embedded into this. So let me chant better. Because what is not available normally is available to me in a very simple form. Yeah, so that's very important. So next shloka.
Prabhu, one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
There is a sentence in this that at the end of one kalpa, the Maharlok is annihilated and the inhabitants have to be transport themselves to still higher planets. That is Tapalok and Janlok, Tapalok or Satyalok?
Yes, Prabhu.
But those are also subject to annihilation.
Sorry, can you repeat, sir, Professor? I didn't get it. One second, let me.
In the second paragraph, it is written, the great sages and
One
saints.
second, Prabhu, I'll read it. Okay, yeah, 1 second. Yeah, can you read it out loud?
The great sages and saints are promoted beyond the heavenly planets to Maharlok, But all that also is not a place of complete fearlessness.
Correct.
Because at the end of one kalpa, the Meherlok is annihilated and the inhabitants have to transport themselves to still higher planets.
Correct.
Yet, even on these planets, no one is immune to death.
Correct. Yeah. Still, whatever is being described is in the realm of the material world only. Yeah, correct, Prabhu. So spiritual is beyond that. That's why it is not only in this canto that spiritual world, cosmology, cosmic thing is described. Later in fifth canto also this is described. And that is why I can show you this book. This gives your doubt can be further answered if you read this book. There, very vivid description of these things are given. Yes, the simple answer is as long as you are in a place where there is death, there is fear, there is anxiety, that means you are not yet gone to spiritual world. It's as simple as that. There is no place other than spiritual world which guarantees you those three things. Okay, Prabhu?
And Prabhu, what is the meaning of the last sentence? Such things are situated on the head.
Such?
In the purport, the last sentence is such things are situated on the head. That is head of the universal God.
Such things are situated on the head. I don't know, Prabhu. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. We should ask people like Radhapad Pankaj Prabhu or somebody. I'm not sure, Prabhu. Exact meaning, I do not know this line. If you want to double click on this line, I do not know. We will see that purport again if you have time in the end. Yeah, Prabhu?
Prabhu, I think it is related to Urdhva Moolam Adhashakam.
Could be. We'll just go back to this line, Prabhu, if you don't mind. In the end, if you have time.
Okay. No.
This is 19 purport, right? Because I'm seeing the thing, I'm not able to see it fully. That's why the problem is there. Yeah. Okay, Prabhu? So
yes, Prabhu. No issue.
We'll basically till now we are talking about omnipresent omnipotence of the Lord through Vishwarupa and the effulgence of the Lord, characteristics of spiritual world, material world, nature of spiritual world, material world, and we have freedom to stay there, spiritual world or material world. Only and only in spiritual world there is deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxiety. And all this knowledge should help us to know the greatness and glories of the Lord. And this should inspire us to try to see, to know what to do, to go to that place and to know more about it. And also the Lord's energies, there are the spiritual energy and material energy. And in the material world, we have the existential energy that is more easily contactable and visible. But there is energy of knowledge to know, Samvit energy, and there is a pleasure potency energy called Hladani. And Hladani, Samvit, and the Sandhani energy are there as an embedded part of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we'll at least when we are able to chant properly, we are in touch with all these three forms of energy. Yeah, so till that point we came. And now, Padastrayo Chasan upper Janam Ya Ashramaha Antas Trailokyastu Aparo Grahamedo Abharat Vrataha Padastrayo Chasan Aprajanam Ya Ashramaha Antas Trailokasya Twap Aparo Grahamedo Abhrat Vrataha. So here the slightly, again, the statistics regarding the spiritual world are given. Yeah, can someone read the translation alone? I'll do the summary.
Sure, Prabhuji. Translation, Hare Krishna. This spiritual world, which consists of 3/4 of Lord's energy, is situated beyond this material world, and it is especially meant for those who will never be reborn. Others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live within the three material worlds.
Yeah. So basically here they're talking about the qualifications. The spiritual world, which consists of 3/4 of the material Lord's energy, situated beyond the material world. And it's only those people who never want to reborn, because that's where is the deathlessness is there. But people like us who are attached and who cannot follow the rules of celibacy, or we have to live here. So that is why when Srila Prabhupada picks up this word, others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy oaths must live within the three material words. He picks up this and he starts the purport with Varnashrama Dharma. So he basically gives us that Varnashrama, the highest goal of human life in the system of Varnashrama Dharma, is to train individuals to be detached from the normal life that we indulge in, normal life of sense gratification, and so on and so forth, where the celibacy oaths are not that much followed. And for those people who cannot follow the celibacy oaths, there is some, license and a freedom is given through the form of a married life. And within that married life, also after a certain time, one has to get into celibate life in the stage of vanaprastha to continue his journey. As long as one does not do that, then the chances of getting detachment or chance of getting renunciation, feeling of renunciation will not come. And as long as that doesn't come, people will not be will not become eligible to go to travel to spiritual world. So not only that, the various religious traditions like Buddhism, Shankara philosophy, other Vaishnava sampradayas also emphasize on the following of these vows, particularly the celibacy vows, and without which it cannot go. So basically, breaking the vow of celibacy prevents entry into the spiritual realm of deathlessness. So we may say, how can I do that? My God, I'm a grihastha. How can I do that? Is it not? Does it say that I have to only become a brahmachari and then become a sannyasi? Only those are eligible? No. We see there are so many examples in the Shastras that there are grihastha devotees, right? Dhruva, Prahlada, even Lord Ramchandra when he came, he was a grihastha. Krishna when he came to material world, he was a grihastha. It's not that, but for us the message is that at some point in time we should know that our extreme desire for our sense gratification should reduce. That's why we have brahmachari, grihastha. Those people who cannot control their senses, married life is one of this, is given as one of the means, a license to enjoy to whatever we can enjoy, and then slowly get detached and become into vanaprastha, where we slowly move and then go to the spiritual life. And if you see even the physical construct of our body is also such that as the age goes, the propensity to indulge into those sensuous acts or to satisfy our desires, extended desires, automatically reduces. The physical construct of the body is like that. No, it cannot grow. Nobody can go strength after strength as they grow old. It only decreases. But only issue is that mental problem comes. The body physically, structurally can become weak, but mental weakness doesn't come that easily. The mental detachment doesn't easily. So that's where there's a struggle between the mental desires and the body is not able to satisfy it. And that's where the issues of the old age are much more. Mentally, we are still attached, but physically we cannot do. At least in the young age, mentally it was okay, physically okay, so we can just satisfy and drain our desires or those our whatever wishes. So that's why people go haywire during that period of life when they are not properly directed toward varnashrama ashrama, or when they do not know the importance of this varnashrama method and vanaprastha ashrama in that. So once they know that the importance of this, oh, it's a time for me not only physically to calm down, but also mentally also have to calm down so that I can get that mode of detachment. And that will help me to progress further. So that's why to be in the spiritual organizations, to be in sadhu sangha, to keep reading Srimad Bhagavatam. The Varnashram Dharma is extensively described in 11th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that helps us to focus our attention. And that's probably is the reason why Srila Prabhupada straight away in this purport jumps just by picking that line of celibacy, which is there as a part of the meaning. Who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy must live in this. So that's a decision for us. Attachment or detachment doesn't mean that we give away our responsibility. That's not say. So attachment, detachment, and disconnection. There's a lot of difference. Attachment is too much of attachment, forgetting other important primary things, getting absorbed into too much, thinking that that is the only the primary. Detachment is being there, fulfilling that responsibility for that period of time, but not getting too much impacted by that. Disconnection is not good in a way for people like us, at least growths, because disconnection has got a tinge of irresponsibility. Just because I know the scriptures, I have read the scriptures, I find, I have to maintain celibacy oaths and I have to get out of this. I want to go to spiritual world. That is irresponsibility, because if I only think about myself, I need to know that I've been put into place out of my own will, out of my own past activities. I must fulfill these things. But before reading Srimad Bhagavatam, before getting into satsang, and after getting his only thing is, I will remain here. I will execute my responsibilities, but I will be detached from the results of it. So that in one day, slowly, I can come to a mature position of leaving that and trying to seek a higher realms of spiritual truth. So that's the reason why even for Arjuna, when he wants to get out of the battlefield and become a beggar or becoming a monk, Krishna said, no, you come. So battlefield and fight. All through Bhagavad Gita, you'll get that, right? So basically, Krishna is telling Arjuna to fulfill his responsibility at that point in time, but not thinking that he's the cause or not intending to enjoy the fruits of that cause. That's the whole philosophy, whole important thing of karma yoga, right? So here, that is the important thing that we need to know. Even though we are in Grihastha ashram, we are able to enjoy certain sensuous elements of our life with our family, with our friends. But we have to always keep in mind that somewhere one day we must leave this. We need to get that slow detachment. It may not come immediately. So for some people, it comes immediately. But for most of us, like us, which who are very conditioned, it comes slowly and gradually. And that varnashrama system, particularly the ashrama system, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, is meant for that gradual training with a aim to get back to Godhead. So that's why regarding the celibacy of vows, in the purport, we also get to know from the Srila Prabhupada's thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also very strict in following the celibacy vows because he wanted to prove to the world that is one of the important thing. But one important thing in this is we should not artificially jump into doing this. Some devotees do that and it backfires for them very badly. Because unless you are mentally prepared, you should not physically renounce. Because mind is more powerful than our physical strength. Yeah. So after some days, some years, it'll come and it'll hit us so badly that we actually become much worse than before. So we see that some devotees go through this problem and they tend to start celibacy vows within the Grihastha ashram at a very young age, 30, 35. And when they come to 45, 50, all those suppressed emotions, suppressed sensual desires, sensual attractions, when the body becomes weak and when the mind gets slightly more powerful, and it comes and then it comes in a very perverted form. They fall down and getting into relations at that very age of 50, 55 and doing some nasty things because it's coming out, they are not able to control. And going back to their, spiritual masters and saying that I'm not able to control what to do and all sorts of things are there. And we now and then see in the congregations like that. So it's important moderation, proper understanding, proper maturity, preparing slowly with an aim one day that we need to leave. And when we leave, it should be very, very smooth. We should not be in a position to regret that. So we should build our life and attitude and our situations, circumstances like that. And for us to build like that, as a grihastha, how do I get to a stage that I will be in a place where I can reasonably with ease go to the next stage of life. Only if I fulfill my responsibilities properly, only if I fulfill my duties properly now. For example, I have children. I have to get them educated. I have to give them whatever bhakti or Krishna conscious that I could probably give. Try to put them into the right path of life, teach them what is righteousness, what is wrong, and then let them grow. And if they take up to devotion, it's very good. It's a big bonus. If they don't also, if they have, they don't choose their way of life, no problem, respect that. And then you can go. If I don't fulfill my responsibilities, and if I suddenly want to get away from that, it does not look nice, right? It neither gives a good example, or it neither sends a good narrative or a demonstration of a good behavior to children, to the people around. It doesn't work. So the preparation with maturity, understanding fully the importance of executing the responsibility in that current stage of life, but with an aim to slowly get. So what I mean to, again, I repeat, if we prepare ourselves properly at the time when we have to relinquish, we don't have any issues. If I was lucky enough to execute my responsibility properly, given them proper education, given them some Krishna consciousness, put them in the groove, and when I want to leave, I don't have much difficulty in leaving because I'm satisfied with what I've done. So I can leave. But if I don't, then there's a problem. Then the attachment comes and all sorts of things will come. So that's very important thing we need to know in the execution of celibacy. And 21, can someone read the shloka and meaning also? Yes, Prabhu.
Shall I read?
Yeah.
Um, the shloka also, is it okay? Or
Yeah, shloka and meaning.
okay. Suti vichakrame vishwan शासनान शने उभे यद्य विद्या च पुरुषस्तु भयाश्रयः. Translation: by his energies, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nations and factual knowledge of all situations.
Yeah. Here, Brahma is going to Narada slightly one level deeper. Basically, in the previous shlokas, he's explained the external nature of the external and a bit internal nature of the spirit cosmic manifestation. And here, is all-pervading supreme personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. So here, the word controlling comes and knowing comes. So that's why Srila Prabhupada immediately jumps into 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he refers Kshetrajna and Purusha. So these are the two key terms that come out in the purport, where these terms refer to someone who knows and acts within the field of activity. They apply to the both individual self and supreme Lord. So individual versus supreme knowledge, the individual knows self with their own limited activities, with their limited understanding, whereas supreme Lord knows about all activities. Kshetrajna, field and knower of the fields. The individual self has partial knowledge, and sometimes he can forget their own true identity, whereas supreme person has got a knowledge which is all pervading and it's all knowing. So this is one important. So the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is kind of an interesting chapter because it is the first chapter after the Bhakti Yoga series ends. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are predominantly Bhakti Yoga things. And suddenly 13th chapter start with a Jnana kind of a thing, a philosophy which is sometimes can be treated as dry. So that's why even people who read Bhagavad Gita, after they come to 12th and they start 13, suddenly they feel that the track is different. And some people give it up. thinking that, oh my God, what is this? This is too much to understand. But the Srila Prabhupada here explains to us that Kshetra, Kshetrajna. And then, as I told, individual self has got a partial knowledge, but Lord has got full knowledge. And then again, the distinction between material world and spiritual world is given. A material world is a place of ignorance, and we forgetfulness is also there. And spiritual place is called knowledge, that is vidya. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also gives the stages of ignorance. In the material world, ignorance manifests in stages like dharma, duty, artha, and moksha. So ignorance manifests in this. Even when we are following dharma, also there could be an ignorance part there. Artha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So it's very interesting. And the monastic idea of merging with the Lord is also seen as the final stage of the materialism and ignorance, because it doesn't recognize the full difference between the individual self and the supreme self. This is what Srila Prabhupada, again, bringing back to the point, is telling that material world has got ignorance predominantly, and that is also seen in dharma, artha, kama, moksha things. And how do we know the difference now between knowledge and ignorance, vidya and avidya? So the true knowledge, vidya, involves in recognizing the difference between individual self and the Lord, and engaging in bhakti. This is many times it will come, right? And it's very important for us to know that Lord is the only one who oversees both ignorance and knowledge. It's not that ignorance is somebody's department. He oversees both. And it's up to each living entity to choose which path he wants to take. So that's the reason why we say, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmiltamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So basically, spiritual master is coming and opening. There's a light there, and we have closed our eyes, so everything we are seeing dark, and he's coming and opening our eyes so that we can see the thing. But even if he comes and opens, forces our eye open, it is up to us to see or not, right? Even there is light, even there is eye that can see, even that eye is open, still I should have an intention to see. Otherwise, I will not see what I'm supposed to see. I'll see something and I perceive something. So that is why it's very important to know the aspect of knowledge, that it is Lord who is overseeing ignorance and knowledge, and it is based on our intention, our aspiration, our determination, our goal setting. He would give what we want. So it is very wrong to say that God has put me in ignorance, because he has given because we wanted ignorance. It is very wrong to put responsibility on the God. No, he's giving choices. He says, I have got both. You come and pick it up, and you take whatever, how much ever you want in either case, because I'm the overseer of both. My wallet, or my room, or my space for both is there. Keys are there with you. Whether you want to enjoy not following the vows that are prescribed, fine. You get the key to open the ignorance. But if you want to go in the path of knowledge, some power to know the existential potency, and try to understand the pleasure potence of the Lord, chant Hare Krishna, do devotion service, probably you'll get the key for the knowledge room. So that's how he gives us a choice entirely. So keeping himself aloof. So yeah, the next shloka, last shloka, you'll read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, sure. यस्मादण्डं विराजज्ञे भूतेन्द्रिय गुणात्मकः तद्द्रव्यम् अत्यगाद् विश्वं गोभिः सूर्य इवातपन्. Translation: from that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and the universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations, like the sun, which is separate from his rays and heat. Hare Krishna.
Correct. So in this, here, this shloka reminded me of 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He's aloof from such material manifestation. He creates material manifestation, but is aloof. So Srila Prabhupada basically gives in this thing the supreme truth and the forms. The supreme truth, the absolute truth, we call it, right? Satyam Param Dhimahi is nothing but supreme person. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is how Srimad Bhagavatam starts in the first shloka, first canto, and then the same shloka ends with Satyam Param Dhimahi. The supreme truth is the supreme person. This is the first one of the important things that we should know. And that supreme person is called is to be known as Purushottama, and that Purushottama is Krishna, and he is the ultimate controller. The material world is with a lesser manifestation of Lord's energy. We came to know that it's only 1/4, while the more attractive thing is the spiritual world. And the Lord actually creates both this material world and spiritual world. And Lord, clearly the Lord creates material world by infusing his energy, and then he expands himself as a gigantic Vishwarupa form. And this is what Brahma is telling. So the gigantic Vishwarupa form is nothing but an expansion of the Lord through his energy in this material world. So that's why in the Srila Prabhupada's purport also, when we talks about the Vishwarupa, it says it's temporary. It is not the Lord's original form. Original form of the Lord is Krishna with his two-handed Shyam Sundara form. So this is one very good example. And then it says that how can he be aloof? When I create something, how can I be aloof from something? Again, Srila Prabhupada goes back to the example of sun, as we have seen in the 17th shloka today. Like the sun, which remains distinct from its rays and heat, Krishna also remains distinct from his material manifestation. So sun rays comes from sun only, but sun is distinct from that. The impersonal form, Vishwarupa, is the secondary, and the personal form is Krishna. So he gives Vishwarupa is there, which is a part of Krishna, but it's aloof. So we can't say that Krishna is Vishwarupa form. Vishwarupa form is within the Krishna, and he can manifest it anytime he wants, and he can take it back. And here, personal and impersonal aspects are different. Krishna is both personal and impersonal. He manifests in his impersonal form through Brahma Jyoti and universal forms through the nature, the cosmos. But in the personal form, he exhibits the way the way we see him, or the way we understand him, as it is described his life in Goloka Vrindavana in scriptures like Bhagavatam and others. So this is how we can learn the important things. And then the greatness of all this spiritual world, material world, cosmic energies, 3/4, 1/4, Lord is spread everywhere, omnipotent, omnipresence. We should know the difference between material world, spiritual world. We should know the different energies. How do we get connected to the energies? That will make us humble. That will make us more conducive to bhakti. That will enable us to make Lord as center for life, and that inspires us to go back to Godhead to see how the spiritual world is there. All are described with a lot of plurality in mind, with a unity in diversity. There's so much of diversity Krishna is showing through Brahma Jyoti, through universal form, through Virata Rupa, through the manifestation of energies in the creation of this material world. So much, too much of diversity, both in the spiritual and material manifestation, but he is the one. The unity aspect is Krishna is one without a second, but several things that come out of him have got a very diverse thing. So he's separate from everything, and everything is connected to him. That's the most important thing. People often get confused on how can Krishna create, but he cannot be there. So he's separate from everything, but everything is connected to him. So the connection and separation, just as the sun rays depend on the sun for their existence and are the manifestations of sun's energy, Everything of the universe is connected to God. It is manifestation of energy. But energy is not energetic. He is energetic and energy comes from him. As long as we know, then we understand the logic of energy, energetic. And Krishna, even though he creates everything, he need not be part of it. He need not be influenced by what it is. However, as the sun rays are not the sun itself, similarly, while everything is connected to God, God remains distinct and supreme entity. It is just like that the rays emanating from sun, we don't know where the sun doesn't really bother on where they should land, right? The rays are emitted from sun and they land sometimes. Sometimes in some places they land, that becomes hot. Some places they don't land, that becomes cold. But that is not sun's issue. Sun is a power source of energy. That energy is there, light is there, and ray is there. So sun ray is a source from sun, but sun does not need to be affected by how the ray is spread. So this, in a sense, is told by Brahma. And all this, if you look at it, primarily, what we're trying to come to understand is the greatness of the Lord, glory of the Lord, innumerable opulences of the Lord are, are given by Brahma so that we will always become humble. We always know our minute situation. And then that is one of the important aspects of our journey in our devotional path. So beyond that, we don't have to do too much of a research on what is there in Vishwarupa, what is there in Virat Rupa. If we have time, we can do it. But the crux of the matter is in what way these descriptions, which are told to Parikshit based on his inquiry by Shukadev Goswami, will help us get inspired to know, to get aptitude to power to know, and how do we utilize that knowing power into our practical application. So this is what I wanted to share, Prabhu. It's a bit theoretical subject, looks like a academic and theoretical subject matter, but it's important for us to know and read in this form. So I thanks a lot for giving this opportunity. If we have time, we can go back to that purport 20 or 19, where Prabhuji had asked that question. If we can display it, I'll try in a minute to answer
Prabhu,
that.
leave it. We will discuss sometime else, because as rightly said, we have to understand the gist of the things. It is so we can leave that line. It is 19 actually.
Okay, I'll just read it. There may be compared to extension of life, expansion of knowledge, sense of full bliss, but factual deathlessness, fearlessness, free from bondage are possible are possible only beyond these material spheres of coverings of material sky. Such things are situated on the head of thigh.
I think, Prabhu, it is saying
can
the
you
head
go
of the.
Can you go up slightly, Prabhu? The translation. I think Srila Prabhupada is go up. Yeah, translation. Yeah, go. Yeah, this is which is beyond three modes of planetary system. Yeah, yeah, go up slightly. Yeah. I think. Okay. Yeah, that I think the simple message is fearlessness. This fearlessness and deathlessness exist only beyond the material coverage. That's what he's telling.
Yeah.
In simple terms. Yeah.
So what I mentioned about Urdhvamulam Madashakam was completely unrelated. Sorry for that.
Yeah. No, so basically the message is that if we in the material realm, whichever place we may be there, up, down, middle, lower, bottom, left, right, center, as long in the material sphere, these things will be there. Only beyond the material world, in the spiritual world only, those things are there. I think that is the basic message, if I understand it right.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. It was a fantastic class, packed with philosophy and amazing. It was just amazing. Anybody has any quick question?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. Rao Prabhu, Rakesh Prabhu, Smati Mataji, Uday Prabhu, no question?
No, nothing from
No
my side.
question, Prabhuji. All okay.
Okay, great. Many thanks, Prabhuji, for coming over. And it was a fully theory-packed class with nice examples also given. It helped quite a few concepts to be cleared as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Prabhu, I'll just repeat the four or five important elements, right? First and foremost, if any case when we happen to see any picture of Sri Krishna, any picture where people worship universal form above Krishna, we need to watch out that, and we should not be influenced by that. We should know that actually universal form comes from Krishna, not Krishna comes from universal form. And if possible, if there is amenable space, we may try to educate them by referring to the current purports given by Srila Prabhupada and the shloka text of 11th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's an important responsibility. Second is that people have the misconception that Swarga Loka is also part of the spiritual thing. So Swarga, either Swarga Loka or Pata Loka, it's only question of grading is different, but everything is a part of material things. In as long as wherever in the material sphere you are there, death, fear, anxiety will be there. So that's one.
Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt. On
Yeah.
that point, when you say Swargaloka or Pataloka is a part of your material world,
Cosmos. Yeah.
in what sense are we referring to? That means we are currently, when we are on Earth, it is one of them. The experiences we go through is considered as whether it is Swargaloka or Patalok.
No. The Vedic texts describe the whole cosmic manifestation is divided into different lokas, right?
Yeah.
So the Swargaloka, Pataloka is Bhurloka. So in that context, I'm telling, why I'm telling this is sometimes there is in the TV serials and in the stories that we hear, Swargaloka is referred as something highest that one can achieve, where everything is solved. I'm telling that only when after we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, we come to know Swargaloka is not a place for all solutions. Swargaloka is an extension is a place where our sense enjoyment can be extended, and enjoyment can be will be enjoyed more than in the Bhuloka. That's all. So we should not be under the assumption that Swargaloka is ultimate. So this is very clear a message that Srimad Bhagavatam is telling. That's also part of the material thing. Unless we cross all this and go to spiritual world, this is not there. So I'm trying to bust the myths or some incorrect knowledge that is generally spread. So Patala or Swarga is only just a grading of the name. If in simple terms, take the names of the countries, right? In India, probably there could be more inconveniences and suffering. In Dubai, there could be less inconvenience and suffering. And in America or some other rich countries, the inconvenience are slightly far lesser, probably. I'm just giving an example, right? That's all. So it's only grading that differs, but the fundamental things are the same everywhere. So again, let me go back. So Krishna doesn't come from Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa is a part of Krishna. All these great lokas, patal lokas, Swarga loka, the benefits and all that we say, we do punya, we go to Swarga loka is good. If we want to go and enjoy, we can enjoy. But that's not the ultimate aim of life. Ultimate aim of life is to go back to Godhead. And that's second point. Third point is it's very important for us to know the difference between material world and spiritual world, so that gives us an inspiration to focus our mind on the spiritual world. Third is that by omnipresence and by omnipotency, when Lord expands its internal energy to create this material world and shows us this material world, and we are placed in this material world, by seeing and being in touch with material nature, we have a very good touch point to connect with Lord. So when we see sun, moon, water, whatever, Lord is giving innumerable examples or innumerable demonstrations for us to make him remember. So that is there. And when and in all the sum and substance, when we know the glories of the Lord can be there as glorious, as sweet as is in two-handed form. He can also be as glorious and as splendorous as in Vishwarupa form. And in the Vishwarupa, for Arjuna, he conveyed a different message to remember his duty. Duryodhana, he remembered his fault line. So different, and that Rishi who met Uttanka Rishi, he showed him, he gave him the assurance. So Lord manifests his form in different forms, different ways, different situations. But in all, the basic takeaway for us is that we need to develop that humility and also increase our knowledge that how minute are we in the whole creation, the scheme of things, and that will reduce our ego. If you know that how small you are, that helps us, right? Otherwise, sometimes we think big, we think we are great. So that humility and that conscious awareness that we are part of the Lord, and even the material world is his energy, and he has kept us for a reason here. And we can see his presence even in this material world, even in the midst of Maya, if we have a vision to do that. And that will help us in our devotion life. So knowing these issues is not to get overwhelmed, but to get inspired. Just the way Arjuna got inspiration by seeing the universal form, and then he started doing his duty, the same way this knowledge should help us get more inspired. And most important, among all the things that I try to compile today, the one which message that I want to remind myself is that when I chant Hare Krishna, even in this material world, even when I'm connected only to Sandhini Shakti, I can also connect to Sambit Shakti, power to know, and the resultant pleasure of getting connected to both Sandhini Shakti and Sambit Shakti, and all the three energies, which is ultimate part of the whole energy ecosystem of the Lord, is available to me just in the chanting of the holy name. So once we get this, all the understanding of universal form, Virata Rupa and all, everything becomes kind of a secondary. This is one of the key messages that I want to convey. And this is the same mood we have to understand the subsequent shlokas also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, one quick question. I had this one last time as well. When we say planetary system, is it in any way different from the planet? I mean, is a planetary system comprised of multiple planets? Or when we say the Martya Loka is a planetary system, or Swarga Loka is a planetary system, is it like too many planets come together to form a planetary system?
Yeah, it's an ecosystem. In IT terms, we call it ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Planets, a group of planets, and planetary system is a whole gamut of the ecosystem of the universes,
So
which are divided into different planets.
So when we say the earthly planetary system, does it mean that all these planets of Saturn, Jupiter, and all that Earth and all put together, that is the Earth planetary system?
Yes. The Earth is ruled by those grahas, right? And that's why we are able to see them materially. Anything that is not out of our planetary system, we cannot see, no? For example, Swargaloka, we can't see. Earthly planetary system has got all this controllers of this.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and anyway, that is extremely well described, Prabhu, in this book.
Okay, fantastic.
So if it is available in tulsibooks.com, this book is written by Bhuvaneshwar Das. Beautiful book with, I'll just show before we end the class, with a lot of diagrams and, like I'm just giving a sample of this. So, Subal Prabhu, what you're asking is explained in that globe kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a very nice book to read. Picks up a lot of things from second canto, 10th chapter onwards also,
Okay.
and also in this. So the other important thing is we need to be patient also as we go through Bhagavatam in this serial fashion. This theme of universal form, cosmic energy, cosmic manifestation keeps on coming. Sometimes we may feel fatigued. Oh my God, how many shlokas I have to read about this? But that's how it is. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We can.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.